Exquisite light of creation. Perfect, innocent light of God. In this moment, finding the willingness of the heart to accept the innocence within and to accept innocence in all that you see, hear, taste, touch. Opening to the divine innocence of true life, of love. And finding the willingness within the heart in this moment to surrender all beliefs of limitation and separation in all its various expressions. The willingness to rest as the divine, in the divine, with the divine. Allowing harmony and ease to flow. Accepting, allowing, inviting. And breathing, always breathing. In this moment is all presence. And if you can be here, letting go of all allure of the past and the future, you will find peace. Your true nature, your true life. Nothing missing, nothing needed, nothing out of place. Seeing through the perception that says there is difficulty, there is danger, there is problems, and surrendering those perceptions into the light, into love, into God. In this moment, finding the willingness to let go of this day, to surrender this day into love itself. Everything that you thought you might have made in this day, thinking, knowing, planning, putting it all into the hands of love, surrendering it all for transformation, all for the yes to peace, and the willingness to surrender all ideas, all perceptions, all plans of the future. Putting the future into the hands of God, into the hands of love, to unfold in perfect harmony. No longer willing to color the future in the belief of difficulty. Breathing. Breathing and allowing and inviting humanity into the heart. One heart and one breath. No one separate. No one different. No one damaged. No one less. No one more. And nothing that you have known about anyone. Letting that all be surrendered and want to see the holiness of all life itself, expressed within the being of each beloved. To see past what you think you know. In breathing, allowing, accepting. And in this moment, focusing on the breath, breathing deeply and fully with intention to breathe into every cell, to allow every cell to be filled with your yes through the breath, allowing, inviting. And breathing into the throat, opening the throat, willing to receive love, light, awareness. Letting the neck go, breathing into the shoulders, arms, and hands. Breathing deeply and fully with intention. Not willing to keep breathing as something that needs to be timid or restricted or controlled in any way. Breathing. And finding the prayer within the heart. Breathe me. Breathe. Breathe for me, beloved Spirit of love. Breathe me. I'm breathing into the spine. Mm-hmm. Inviting the spine to be surrendered into the hands of God. Allowing the liquid of love to flow easily, gently, breathing. Breathing and allowing. Breathing into the heart. Fully and deeply breathing. Staying present in this moment. Inviting the heart to come forward, open and available for love. Not holding anything restricted, not holding back in any sense of a defense. Willing for any defensiveness to be surrendered in this moment. And saying, yes, I'm willing to open the heart. I'm willing to be present. I'm willing to stay in awareness with the heart open, available, connected in holy union with all beloveds. Breathing. Breathing into the belly, surrendering all the organs into the hands of God. Surrendering the hips and thighs, knees, calves, ankles, and feet, all surrendered into love. And staying present and aware of this moment. Breathing. Breathing into the emotional body, surrendering the emotional body into the hands of God. No longer willing to have the emotional body run by fear, by the mind. It says, I know about danger. I know what things mean. But now surrendering the emotional body into the hands of God, willing for the emotional body to express joy and harmony and peace and compassion, surrendering into the hands of God. Breathing into holy union and affirming that here in this infinite circle of love we are one. This sanctuary is filled with love. This universe is all of love. There is only one presence here, affirming that here in this presence of God, we move and breathe and allow as one. Breathing in holy union, holy breath, sacred heart. In this day that has been deemed the day of love, opening to the many blessings and the yes of the heart to continue this yes to love, to extend love, to express love, to accept love as the only truth, and to live in that truth. I was called today to sing 2 prayers, 3 prayers. The first is the prayer that was received as I walked in healing. It was the first prayer that I received that shook my knowing to the core, recognizing that this offering, this blessed prayer, was being transmitted by the Blessed Mother for healing, to break open the heart that at that moment was in deep resistance and deep fear. It was not only given as a reminder and a sacred transmission of healing itself, bringing energy every time that it was sung, every time that it was remembered, but to really begin to trust that there is a power of love that is not necessarily seen, but is the power of the universe that can break through any seeming resistance if you just have just the little willingness to no longer be right about what you think you know, and to say yes, even if it's just a whisper. To say yes, I am willing to open to a new way, a way of love, a way of remembering, and trusting that that way will open. It's all in the yes. This prayer was the recognition that the belief of pain, the belief of suffering, can be healed, but it has to be healed in surrender. It has to be healed in the willingness to recognize that there is only the truth of love, and that the belief of pain and suffering is the rebellion that says, no, I want to stay separate. And just finding that willingness to break that trance and say, yes, I'm willing to trust. I'm willing to open the heart and be shown a new way. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. This pain has been my life. Only you can set me free. Your love can set me free. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. Mother, oh my mother, release me from this pain. I want to be with you. I want to know your love. Please help me, my mother, to feel your love. I want to know your love. I want to feel the love. I want to live in love. I want to no longer believe that I am a slave of the belief of pain and suffering. The willingness to make that leap, to surrender everything that you think you've known about pain and suffering into the hands of God, into the hands of the Divine Mother, into the hands of all love, and be willing to be transformed from the belief that suffering is true, that suffering is who you think you are. In any way, the willingness to be free. And finding that prayer within your heart, that calling, Mother, oh my Mother, release me. Help me to release these old, tired beliefs of limitation and separation. However they show up, I am ready and I am willing. The next hymn that I was called to bring into this moment is the prayer that I received in another moment of seeming distress, believing that I was enveloped in a hell that was self-inflicted, in the belief of needing to control everything. And blessedly, one of my teachers at the time saw this distress and offered a map that said, this is about opening your heart and focusing completely everything into your heart. Get out of your mind and focus all your attention, all your intention in the heart. And in that yes, to follow those instructions, this prayer revealed itself. The prayer that says, the love is always waiting patiently for your yes. Always. And that when you say yes, you're opening to the garden of love. It isn't anything that you know. It isn't anything that you can conjure up. It isn't anything that you can make sense out of this world. It isn't about figuring it out through the world. It is about the letting go of what you know and opening to what is waiting under what you believe you know. The garden of love is waiting for me. I open up my heart to find you waiting patiently. Please help me find my way to your garden of love. I struggle to break free from this world of illusion. This world of illusion that keeps me from your love. Your sacred heart of love reaches out for me. The love is in our union, the union of our heart. The union of our heart is a garden of love. The garden of love is in the holy union when you open your heart to a beloved, to every beloved, and you are willing to stop seeing them through a perception of limitation, and you join the heart in love, you're opening to the garden of love. That is where heaven exists. It is not in battling with other beloveds. It is not in even trying to figure out the strategies of other beloveds, or what you think you might know about somebody else or some other situation. It's all about coming back and just resting in the heart and recognizing there is nothing outside. that holy union that you're looking for within another is to see the divine in each beloved, because that beloved is you. The only thing that you're seeing in any other beloved is what you believe about yourself. If you see love, if you see harmony, if you see peace, then that is what you are accepting for yourself. If you see danger, if you see difficulty, if you see battle, that is what you believe about yourself. And that is what you believe about the world that you've made. The garden of love is waiting. It's right here, right behind your perceptions. And it's letting go of all perceptions and opening to the garden, the harmony, the holy union. The last hymn that I was called to bring into this moment was a prayer that was very powerful in the healing as I walk through the belief of separation. It was powerful because within its offering, it is a calling to firm the heart in the yes to love, and that nothing else has any validity. To firm ourselves, to firm myself as I was walking in the journey, that nothing else, I'm not going to pay attention to anything else but love. The truth of harmony, peace, ease, joy, nothing else. Here comes the sun to heal us. Let's all firm ourselves in the truth of love and in the Queen of the Sea. I've arrived. I am here. I am here to follow the directions of the divine, and I'm here to affirm the truth of love. My mother, my father, you are blessing this moment and offering comfort as we walk in the belief of separation. When I recognize I am in that oneness, I can never consider myself dead. As I was walking in that seeming journey, I recognized through this prayer, through this teaching, that for sure in this lifetime and every lifetime that I walked before, that I had considered myself dead, that I was not alive. I was in a death march, believing in death and believing in struggle and believing in suffering. And that the way home, the way out of that identity was to firm myself in the truth and to accept only the truth of love, nothing else. and that it was promised by every master who offered every teaching of the truth that there was only love and everything else was made up. I said yes. La vez o sol nos curar, vamos todos se firmar, no sol, na lua, nas estrelas e na rainha do mar. Cheguei, já estou aqui, ninguém queira duvidar. O que meu pai me ordena, eu tenho que afirmar. Meu pai vos nos abençoe, nos dando vosso conforto, que eu estando com vós, jamais me considero morto. Without the truth of love, I consider myself dead. The ego does not reveal this death march willingly. Instead, the ego makes it look like you're gaining and you're making progress within your identity and within your figuring things out and having a set of rules that has nothing to do with the laws of God. The rules of giving to get, the rules of scarcity, the rules of danger, the rules of death. But the laws of God cannot be invited and lived while the rules of the world are being paid homage to and believed in. And you find it in your heart that you don't want to consider yourself dead anymore, but really seeing that you want life, you want to live, you want to live in freedom, free of the seeming chains of oppression and restriction and limitation. All the doubts and all the fears and all the cautions and all the belief that you can control that and make sense out of it, when it never does. Nothing ever makes sense, really. So now is the time to say yes, begin again, forgive the world that you've made, forgive yourself of all the mistaken identities that you've given to everyone and everything. The mistaken identity that you've given yourself that says, I am limited, I am in danger, I need to be cautious, and I need to control something, when there's really nothing to control. And that is actually the source of all pain, is thinking that you have control. It's a scary place to have to control your world when it's never been able to be controlled. And the beautiful offering from Hafiz. Who is living next door? Who is really living next door to you? To what extent do you know the answer? And therefore, for a minute now and then, are grateful for their presence. You have heard about God being indivisible. Is that just a rumor? Is there a difference between God and existence? Still, most live as if there are many in town, because slowly we learn. Some ingredient to solving this vital equation may be missing. It could be the physical touch of someone who knows the truth. Someone who knows the truth and lives it the way my master did. His touch could bring the fulfillment of prayers. Who lives next door? Maybe you think you know. It isn't just next door in the next house. It's next door in the next chair, in the next room, in the next car, next door. Who do you think you know? What do you think you know about them? What have you decided you know? Whatever it is that you've decided you know is the cause of your pain. Because if you are not holding them as God indivisible, you are holding them as something you have made up in agreement with pain and suffering. Even when there is approval, don't be fooled by approval. Approval is the ego's way of tricking you into thinking that you're being gracious and generous. Approval. What is it there to approve of? The whole relationship to approval is a very slippery little eel that runs through your life. Of course, to have approval, you have to have disapproval. You can't have one without the other. So this is not of God. It's just a tricky way of saying, I like, I don't like, I condemn, or I don't condemn in this moment. Approval. It sounds so normal. It sounds so logical. And it has an element to it that says, I've earned this. I've earned the right to approve and disapprove. I've paid my dues in the world, and I have raised myself to a standard that now has the right to approve and disapprove of others, of situations, of what I think it means and what I think it's for, and what I think it should happen to it, and how I think things should be. All of that is going on with every approval or disapproval. It's a whole world that's being built out of what seems to be your right. Not just being right, but your right to approve and disapproval. And it becomes such an entrenched identity that you're not really even aware that you're constantly approving and disapproving of everything. What is this approval and disapproval for? Well, when you really shine the light on it, it's a defense system that is there in the belief that you need to protect something, that you need to continue to make your world, your own little kingdom, to your liking, and that your little kingdom has to be not only to your liking, but has to be made safe. It's all about safety. Likes and dislikes are all about safety. Truly. How many times have you been cautious about putting something in your mouth to see if you like it or don't like it? To see if the tongue, the taste buds, the senses, approve or disapprove of something. You've been doing it your whole life. How can you step out of this web of disapprovals and approvals? First, it's really to accept that they have no value except to make you miserable. How can you see that? You may not at first see that. That's where trust comes in, the trust of the teachings of love, the masters that have been sent to you, that call you to let go of approvals and disapprovals, because love wants your happiness. Love wants your peace. Love wants you to recognize and come in, and recognizes what is keeping you in the belief of separation and in the belief of pain and suffering. The relinquishment of approval and disapproval is the road to freedom. It doesn't look that way. It looks like you would be letting go of a very great pal that you've used as a defense for a long time. Sometimes it's called discernment. You can call it anything you want. Whatever you are seeing, this is the most amazing element of healing, in the sense of it will take you so deeply into healing that there is truly nothing that you perceive that is the truth of God. Nothing. This is not an indictment. This is release. To no longer put your faith and trust in what you think you see and what you think you experience and what you think you know, which is all the same. It's all a perception that is coming from your belief of being separate. It has no other resource. It has no other source. To approve of something would be, in that moment, if you look at your mind as the most elaborate computer, in a nanosecond you have made an assessment of a situation, of a person, of whatever you're making an assessment of, and you have built an entire world out of that assessment. You could write a book on that assessment. It would have hundreds of characters, it would have a storyline, it would have a beginning and an end and a conclusion and the bad guys and the good guys, and they would all be in there. Every approval, every disapproval. The focusing on approval is because it looks less dangerous. Disapproval, you could attach an energy within disapproval because you can feel it more immediately. You can identify that more immediately as, I do want a battle. I do believe in difficulties. I do believe in something being upsetting. But approval skims by in a much easier way because it seems so legitimate. And yet, is it a rumor that God is indivisible? Or are you willing to accept this as the truth? That there is no division in God. So whatever you're approving of or disapproving of, you're basing this on separation. You have no other resource but to base it on separation. So why is it so attractive? Because it gives you a sense, an erroneous sense that you are in control. That you are controlling your world. That you are actually in charge. In the ego identity, the opposite of being in charge would be to be powerless and to be a victim. That's the world's identification of being in control, in charge. And this is completely upside down. When you believe that you are in control and in charge, and needing to have approval and disapproval of everything, you are actually believing that you are a victim. You wouldn't have any reason to have approval and disapproval and want to be in control unless you already believed that you were a victim of the world and of the understructure of what you really believe about yourself that stays hidden. That's what the being in charge is to try to get away from that victim identity, but it actually affirms it over and over and over again. The freedom, the healing, the remembering is in recognizing there is nothing to control and there is nothing to approve or disapprove of, and that you don't know what would be most helpful, what anything should look like. You don't know how to walk in this world in a new way. So when Hafiz, one of the so many masters, says, who is really living next door to you, and to what extent do you know the answer? You don't. And therefore, for a minute now and then, are grateful for their presence. A minute now and then. You're grateful for their presence because possibly gratitude came up because you approved of their behavior. You approved of their actions, of the way they hold their face, of the way they behave, of the way they talk, whatever. And then you have, I'm glad they're here because it could be somebody else, it could be worse. It's all upside down. It's all not of love. But it is such a temptation. Approval and disapproval is like heroin to the heroin addict. it's like I really, I can't let go. I can't trust and step back and let love lead the way. It freaks me out, and then I believe the freak out. I have vowed to be in control. I vowed it when I was being potty trained. I vowed it when I came into incarnation. I vowed it all the way through. I vowed to be in control and to be the approver or disapprover, not recognizing that those were the suitcases that I was carrying, and that it's all the pain and the suffering that keeps going along with me, and the belief that I know how the world runs, and I know what everything should look like, and I know how and what everything means, and I know I'm right. And this is all pain and suffering. And there's no healing that's available in that knowing. I reminded a beloved today again about getting into the sidecar and letting God drive the motorcycle. What is that, to get in the sidecar and let God drive the motorcycle? Just feel into the energy of that. It's a letting go. It's a willingness to be led and shown what is most helpful, and not having a preconceived perception of what you think you know of how things should be, because you have nothing to bring a decision from except the past of what you've already known. And you're wanting to step out of the identity of the past and step into freedom, and step into love, and step into awareness of light and love. But how can you when you keep drawing from the past and using the past? So how is it possible to get into the sidecar and let God drive? It is a choice. And it is a choice that keeps coming up all the time. So it isn't like you make the choice in the morning. Okay, I'm going to let God drive today. Well, the ego is saying, yeah, right. The ego, as soon as you lose focus, is right there. The first nanosecond that you even turn your head and don't pay attention, the ego is right there telling you what you know. All perceptions, all made up, all not helpful. So where is the yes? To getting in that motorcycle again and again and again, and letting a new way be revealed. Every beloved has guides. You can call it one guide, you can call it individual guides, but there is guidance that is wanting to show you a new way. But you have to be available for it. So in a teaching of Jesus, when Jesus said, "You are much too tolerant of your mind wanderings," this was a call to not go back into the trance. So what does that mean, to not go back into a trance? It's your habits, it's your knowing, and it's wanting to stay present, as present in the moment as you possibly can. Does that take focus? Absolutely. It's much easier to go back into a trance. Much easier. It's known, it's familiar, it's easy. It's like when you are in a new circumstance. What does the mind do in a new circumstance? It assesses. It assesses everything and tries to put everything into a place, category, oh, this is like this is like this is like this is like this, I know what this is, I know what this is, I know what this is. And it assesses and it builds a story of familiar, of what it means to you, so that the next time you walk into that unknown space, it's known now. It's known from the past. And what love is calling you to is to come new into every moment. The willingness to come new into every moment, and that you don't know. That you don't know what anything means, that you don't know what it's for, that you don't know how to look on anything, and that you're willing to be opening to a new way. A way of love, a way of ease, a way of peace. So who is that neighbor that's living next door to you? Are you willing to say you don't know, or is it so tempting to go into the known and say, no, I do know, and I don't approve, or I do approve? And that changes from moment to moment, depending on what I think I know about them and what I think I know about the world. Love is wanting you to step into that not knowing and be led. Is it possible? The garden of love is waiting for me. I open up my heart to find love waiting patiently. Please help me find my way to the garden of love. I struggle to break free from this world of illusion that I've made. I believe in struggle. I believe in difficulty. And yet, love will lead you in every moment if you allow. As soon as a decision is made by the mind that says, I know, everything is built around that you have to have an outcome that you want, based on something that you already think you know. And yet you don't know what is going to be most helpful for your healing. So this is a whole new world of healing. It's the mysteries of healing. And it's opening to a new world of relationship, just to healing, just to remembering that nothing in the world means anything except how it is serving your remembering. And trusting that everything that shows up in your life, if you don't judge it, if you don't put your approval or disapproval on it, can bring you to a deeper healing, can bring you to a deeper awareness of remembering everything. But once you take it as your own and you decide what everything means, how it should be, what it's all for, how you like things, how you don't like things, that's where all the pain is, and all the control and all the restrictions of your little world. And you're not open then in that moment to the mysteries of healing that are being offered. You're not available as the happy student. You're not available as the happy learner. that is wanting to learn a new way, that is showing up as unknowing and willing to be directed, willing to be shown a new way. The new way sometimes is shown through teachings that are written, sometimes they're shown through inspiration that of the truth, because you've stepped into not knowing, and then love can reveal itself. And sometimes it's in the divine relationship to discipline. So when I was sitting in that spiritual ritual that I was in, and being in the belief of my mind's craziness, and that teacher came to me and said, this is a moment of focusing completely in your heart, completely in the heart, and letting everything that you think you know go, get out of your mind, and come down into the heart and focus. So this was a moment, but moment by moment by moment by moment, that lasted for 6 or 7 hours. That I sat there focusing in the heart, coming back, coming back, coming back, coming back to the heart. When everything in the mind was going jabber, 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 and screaming, and wanting to join in the distraction of that jabbering, of that old, familiar, fascinating, crazy pain. The difficulty with the mind is that it doesn't show itself as pain. It doesn't show itself as, it shows itself as, your mind is just so darn interesting. Everything I think is just so darn interesting. I can think all day long. But every single one of those divinely interesting things to you is saying, I'm separate, I'm separate, I'm separate, I'm separate, I'm separate, I'm separate, I'm separate. That's all it's saying. It's using all different words and different nuances and different conclusions and different energies, or at least they seem different within the body system. They evoke, those thoughts evoke different energies, so you think you're in new energy all the time. It's all the same. It's just stuff that is made up. It has no value. Now the ego is screaming, when those words are said, that this is just stuff and it has no value, the ego screams, well, that you can't be talking about my thoughts. My thoughts are really great. My thoughts will make a big difference in this world. I have a lot to offer through these thoughts. You put a pretty dress on a bag of potatoes, and it's still a bag of potatoes. You color something in gold, and underneath it, it's still made up stuff. To keep believing in a delusional activity that has no value and that does not, there's no love. It isn't loving. And you have to make that choice constantly at first, because it's become who you think you are. You've identified completely with your thoughts and with your beliefs of being separate and without. And now it's the call to question. What am I believing in? Is this thought that I have right at this moment, or is this experience of this thought, is it peaceful? Is it joyful? If it isn't, it's made up. It's not of God. Period. And when I'm speaking of joy and peace, that is not about pleasure. The high of your self-satisfaction and the high of anticipation of getting something, finishing something, fixing something, controlling something is not joy. Joy is a state of being. Joy is peace. Joy is without anticipation and without the high of conquering something, controlling something, knowing something. Can you firm yourself in that yes? Yes, you can, if you choose to. But no one can make that choice for you. No one can force you to question the validity of what's running, which is going to be thoughts, which is going to be beliefs, which is going to be just the mind. And to recognize you can't open the heart when the mind is running. They can't be together, because the mind is all the thoughts of separation. It's not that there's something wrong with your mind. There's a mind of God, but you're not aware of that mind of God. You're only aware of the mind of limitation and separation. It's to fill the mind with the truth, to give all that space into the truth. That's why the sacred teachings are so important to keep forefront in your awareness, to have them constantly, all the truths be filling the mind constantly in all different, it doesn't matter what the form of it is, if it's Hafiz poems, or if it's sacred hymns, or it's sacred music, or it's sacred teachings. It's to be in letting God have the mind. That's why in so many paths there are mantras. The mantras are to fill the mind so the mind can't be the monkey mind of I know, I know, I know. And then you're just using the mantra to fill the space so that you can't be deceived by all the thoughts of your knowing. And that way you can come into the heart. If you're repeating a mantra, God is love, God is love, God is love, God is love, then the heart can come forward and open. Because there aren't all these knowing ideas that are bouncing around of approval, disapproval, figuring out how things are going to be, planning, controlling. All of that is pain. Now why is it so difficult to see that it's pain, suffering? Because there's a mechanism that everybody has used that says, I'm just going to project everything onto everybody else. I'm just going to project everything I know onto everybody else and believe that it's all outside me. And that what I'm seeing out here isn't a reflection of what I think and what I know. I'm going to try to get rid of it by putting it out there. Except it's a ruse. There is nothing outside. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But there is such a fear of going in and going in past and meeting the truth within, because you're so afraid of the self-hatred that you believe is in there. That you are pushing everything out to be a problem out there. That something out there is the cause of your pain and suffering. If something out there is the cause of your pain and suffering, there can be no healing. You are forever a victim. You're not going to heal 3 billion problems out there. You have no control. You can think you have control. You can think that you're going to control those out there so that you make your world okay. But you can't. You can't. And the great release is finally recognizing, oh, I'm projecting all that out there. I'm making up what I think I see and what I think I know. And the healing is here. There is nothing out there. It's all beliefs that are mistakes. They're upside down. They're completely erroneous. You haven't done anything. The truth of you isn't bad or condemned. It's just a mistaken identity and a mistaken, erroneous relationship with the world that you think is out there. There's nothing outside you. But how do you reel in those projections? How do you bring them back when you have spent your whole life trying to get rid of what you believe is your condemnation? What you believe is your badness is what you're trying to project out there. It's the recognition that that is made up. You are not bad, you are not wrong, you are not evil, you are not damaged, you are not less, you are innocent. You are making a mistaken identity world, but in truth you are innocent. Nothing has happened to change the truth of who you are. Nothing. But you don't know the truth of who you are. You don't know the truth of oneness. You don't know that divine wisdom, that awareness of love. You've forgotten. And in that forgetting, you made up a world of battle and having to blame someone else so that you don't find that self-hatred that is, you're afraid the truth of who you are. So the light eventually has to be shined on what you're running from, which is the self-hatred that you believe you are, and that your past is the proof of. You believe your past is your proof that you're not worthy of love, that you are, that must have been true because it's what I deserved, it's what I got. And there is a belief that if that's true, I am condemned. I am without. But this is all the made up. And it's been made into a web of strategies and identities and conclusions and knowing and protections and defenses. And none of it has any validity. Absolutely nothing. Oh, my mother, release me from this pain. This pain has been my life, and only you can set me free. Your love can set me free. In that moment of receiving that prayer, that hymn, I believe that it was a love that was not here. It was the Divine Mother's love, but I didn't have any awareness that that love was already here. And that surrendering to that divine love was opening to the love that is already all that is within. Release me from my own self-incrimination. Release me from the world that I have made in the belief of separation. Release me from living in the desert, in the belief of having control and knowing and approvals and disapprovals. It's a desert. It's a desert of pain. The approval and disapproval will never bring you to peace because it keeps you in pain and suffering. It is the pain and suffering. It isn't doing anything to alleviate pain and suffering. It is the pain and suffering. Every beloved is believing that things outside are the cause of the pain, that others are the cause of pain, that others are the cause of how you're affected, that you are affected by some other cause outside yourself. But when you begin the willingness to question that agreement, that identity, you're opening to the recognition that you are the effect of God. That God is the cause of all life, and you are its effect. That there is no other cause and effect. That you can open to allowing yourself to be creation itself. As my heart opens like a flower, I begin to recognize I am the living God. I create and I am created within the oneness of all. There is no creation, there is no effect other than that of God. You cannot create in separation. Be very clear that you cannot create anything in the belief of separation. You're making things, you're making your own little world in separation, but it has nothing to do with creation. Creation is when you step out of your belief of separation and you come back to the awareness that creation is of oneness. It's not even co-creation. I know that term gets used a lot, co-create with God. Well, that would mean that there was two of you. You can't co-create. You can only create in the awareness of oneness. And in the meantime, you can step into a creation by surrender and allowing the stepping aside of what you know. the relinquishment of self-identity, the little self-identity, and allowing creation to have its way with you. Allowing creation to move through you. But that takes a stepping aside, because for now you believe that you are separate. And so there has to be a conscious choice of stepping aside and allowing creation to move through. Allowing to get in that sidecar and let creation drive. The ego hates this. The ego hates not being in the illusion that you're in charge. A little self-identified you is in charge of something. In charge of something. Knowing of some kind. So it is a great leap of faith. A great leap of faith and a trust in what is not yet in your awareness, but that has been promised to you. That if you step back, step aside, and let love lead, you are stepping into the beginning steps of allowing creation to use this life, to be used by love, to be the instrument, or as Hafiz says so beautifully, to be the flute, to allow this apparatus that you believe is you, this thing that you have identified as a body, as a separate self, as what you think you are, that you are willing to surrender this identity, this body, this apparatus into the hands of God to be used as a flute to express love. But to express love means that there are no opinions. To express love is to be free of opinions, self-made opinions. You cannot express love and have opinions and have a separate agenda. They can't coexist. It's not possible. You are either going to serve the ego and your own agenda that you have made and that you to this moment have been too afraid to let go, or you are trusting and stepping aside and letting creation move through you and express love. And then your heart begins to join, because your heart is available. If you are trusting enough to allow creation to move through, your heart is being freed. Your heart, what you've been keeping tight, all bundled up and held behind some kind of armor of resistance and defense system, is opening, releasing, coming in, saying yes. There's nothing to defend, nothing to protect, and I'm saying yes to creation. I'm saying yes to the movement of love, moving without any perception of needs, personal, self-absorbed needs being given free rein to be in charge. I am willing to be the instrument of love. Make me an instrument of thy peace, as I let go, as I release. Is this your prayer? A yes. Make me an instrument of thy peace, as I let go, as I release everything that I thought I knew and everything that I was defending and approving and disapproving and concluding and knowing and hoping and wanting outcomes that look a certain way because I think that that's the right thing. When you are looking for outcomes, you are not available to the transformation of love's healing. And that is really what your soul, the soul really wants, is love's healing. But when you have outcomes that you think are good or bad or how you want them to be, you are manipulating everything to an outcome based on your past and what you think you know and the belief of separation, but you're not allowing the flow of love to be used for healing. You don't know what anyone else's healing needs to look like, and you don't know what your own healing needs to look like. You don't know. But love knows. Love is aware of what is most helpful, but can you trust that? Can you put your faith there? Can you put your trust there? And allow. And allow creation to move through. And be the servant. Be the vehicle of love. The flute. Not knowing, but allowing and trusting. It always comes back to trust and surrender. Always. Every situation that you find yourself in within form can be used by love, can be used for healing, but you have to surrender it. You can't hold it for you as your own and say, oh no, I think I've got this, I got this handled. I'm doing this one. I'm figuring this out. I know how to do this. No. When we're walking in this world, we don't know. And we have to open. And does fear come up as a defense system? Absolutely. So what? Fear is energy. Nothing else. You have identified fear as something to battle with and of danger. But it has no power except the power that you're giving it. And all that it's doing is saying, step back and don't go there anymore. You don't want to touch that fear again. So let's just stay where we are. When fear comes up, it's like, oh yeah, all right. The ego doesn't like this. I must be on the right track. Because there's a great rebellion going on that wants its way. And I'm not listening to it anymore. I don't want to be a slave to this erroneous, false lie. I've made up a story, I've made up a life, and I'm saying, yes, I'm ready. I want to remember the truth of oneness. I want to heal. I want to rest. I want to just melt into love. And I'm saying yes. There was a beloved who asked a question, which is very much in this same. Are all thoughts egoic? Yes. Can thoughts be used by love for transformation? Yes. But they are not personal thoughts. All the personal thoughts that you have are temporary. That you can certainly see because you have them 1 minute and then they're gone the next, and they change all the time. They're not permanent. The beliefs, even that are running the thoughts, are not permanent. They're beliefs. They're temporary beliefs that say, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this. I believe I'm separate. I believe I'm without. I believe I'm damaged. I believe I am this identity. I believe in my body. It's even my body. I believe that this is who I am and that I have to appease the body constantly, and I have to give everything to that and focus on that. And can you turn your mind over to God? Can you turn your thoughts over and say, I don't know what this is for, take it please. I don't. This is a thought of love. If it is, it's not being, if it isn't, it's not being used by love. It's being made up separately. It's being made up and used as the past. And it's essential to see that thoughts are egoic, because or else the ego system goes, God, that was a great thought. Like that one. Like that, like that, like that, like that. And it isn't shining the light and illuminating the false identity that is making up all those thoughts. Everything can be used by love within this world. Everything. Everything can be used if you surrender it. But it has to be surrendered first. It's not, go ahead and use all this, but I'm keeping it for myself and making my own decisions and making my own conclusions and my own knowing. And then by magic you're supposed to take all this and just transform it. It doesn't work that way. I'm willing to step out of what I think I know. I'm willing. I do not know what anything is for. I do not know who I am, what anything means. And in this not knowing, love can reveal itself, because you've opened a space that is an invitation to the truth. Because you're not covering everything up with your thoughts and your mind and your knowing. That's where all the pain is. It's just to keep coming down into the heart and opening to that beautiful yes, and resting there. Resting in love. Resting in allowing the journey to unfold and reveal itself. And trusting that God's will, even when you're still in the belief of separation, God's will for you is peace and joy. Right here, right now. And this is the world that you can live in as you walk toward awakening. Accepting joy and accepting happiness, that thank God what you thought you knew wasn't true. And that what you believe that you've known and what you believe that you approved of and disapproved of hasn't done anything to anything. It hasn't affected the truth of love at all. And thank God. I can remember it was such a joy walking in the still dream, the trance, and yet being aware of, oh, thank God I'm mistaken. Thank God I'm not right. Thank God everything that I'm making up is just foolishness. Thank God. Thank God it's not my story that's right. Thank God I don't know how to look on anything, but I'm willing. I'm willing to see the truth of love. I'm willing. I say yes. And in that, all of love serves you in every moment. You're never without the help that you need. You're never without the divine grace. It's just opening to it, and that willingness to surrender and allow. In this moment, the willingness to accept healing, the willingness to accept a new way and to be shown a new way in every moment, allowing this day of love to continue, allowing that this incarnation was the calling to humanity, that everything can be healed. Everything that is not the truth of love will fall away within your yes. Allowing. As we close, holding this healing in the heart, not wanting, affirming within that you don't want the distractions of your own knowing and your own approvals and disapprovals, and that you want to see them for what they are, that they aren't love, that they don't serve, and that they will not bring you to healing. I thank every beloved on this day of love for every blessing that has been sent, for every affirming heart yes of remembering love, and the acceptance that everything can be healed. The acceptance that this incarnation was humanity's incarnation, and that healing is the true purpose, that remembering is the true purpose of walking in this form within this incarnation, and that your divine purpose is to remember the truth of love, the union, the oneness, and that you recognize who is it that lives next door. That as you recognize the beloved who is living next door, you are recognizing the one heart. That you are willing to release all beloveds from the projection of limitation and separation. The yes to love.